Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exclusive interview by Financial Insight. My name is Mwelwa Kenneth and I am currently at the Urban Hotel at the end of what has been an exciting 2 weeks of budget coverage. Yes, again, Financial Insight partnered with KPMG. You may remember that we covered the pre-budget survey, and subsequent to that, the Honorable Minister, Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane, did actually present the 2026 budget. Now, what has been interesting is that we get to now to this crucial point where, KPMG in partnership with UNDP have now, hosted jointly a breakfast event which featured key statements as well as a panel discussion with various specialists. And with me to just talk me through how, obviously the budget itself, as well as impact in terms of any correlations with what was seen in the survey, are the two principals from KPMG Zambia as well as UNDP. If I can just call you the double J's. So I'll start with you, Jason. Are you able to just give us your reflections on the 2026 budget that was presented by the Minister?
Thanks. First of all, good morning, everyone. And first of all, let me say it's been a great partnership with the UNDP, with my partner here, James Wakiaga, the Resident Representative. I think it was important that we first started off with the pre-budget survey, and then we're now reflecting on the budget itself. I'll say the budget is ambitious. It's a 253 billion kwacha budget. It's pretty ambitious, and if all the tick boxes are ticked off correctly, then we'll be in a really great place. There are some things that stood out for me. Aside from the usual changes on taxes, I think there's some positives that come out. Things like the introduction of the Mineral Regulatory Commission. I think that's a major development. It will streamline regulation in the mining industry, and I think enable the country to extract more value out of the mining sector, and hopefully quash the sentiments that we've had that we're not, as a country, we're not really gaining much out of the mining sector, and yet we own all the deposits, all the ores, all the precious stones, and so on and so forth. That's the one. The other one, I think, which stood out for me, and these are plans that the ministry has, is the introduction of a deposit protection scheme to protect the deposits of customers in banks. Over the years, we've had banks falling and failing and going under, and poor people, a lot of people losing their deposits. And so that's a good scheme. It's worked very well in other countries. In the US, you've got the federal deposit insurance operation. There's something similar in Nigeria, and so on and so forth. And then also, for me, it also talks to, I think, there's a bit more sensitivity now to the environment. I mean, you are aware we've had some environmental disasters this year, and the budget does talk about the banning of single-use plastics in 3 years' time. First of all, increase the taxes on single-use plastics in 2026, increased again the following year, and then ban it after 3 years. I think that would be a very good thing. It will help clean up the environment, help clean up Zambia, and speak to climate resilience, speak to ESG issues, so on and so forth. So overall, even when you don't look at the numbers themselves, I would say it's a pretty good budget, ambitious budget. But obviously a lot depends on how we handle the issue of the power sector. We need to get power back on board to, drive the push to increase our coal production to, the 3 million metric tons that the President has talked about. I mentioned that because for a long time to come, how our mining industry performs and our ability to produce copper, how much we'll produce, really impacts the economy. Can't run away from that. Before we do that, we'll sort out the power. So those are some of these reflections, but the devil is in the detail, and it'll take a whole day to go through it.
Absolutely, Jason. And for our viewers, in case you want to know what some of the detail is, it is contained in this little booklet that the three of us are actually holding. And, I had a chance to, James, I had a chance to look through some of the, just a summary of what, your observations were. Are you able to just share with us, your reflections? And How important and significant, now that the budget is actually out, the survey results, as well as, the partnership with KPMG, how important that was, for and what you've seen overall?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And let me join Jason to, again, reaffirm the importance of the partnership between KPMG and UNDP, particularly on this budget analysis, but also on the pre-survey. And I believe we are the only two institutions that have actually undertaken a comprehensive pre-budget survey, and importantly, just being able to capture the voices of the investors, but also ordinary citizens in terms of issues that are pertinent to this budget. And hence, from the pre-budget analysis, some of the issues that came out, issues around runaway inflation, issues around predictability of the taxation regime for the country, issues around investor confidence in terms of the business ecosystem and the doing business environment. And hence, in a sense, the minister, in a very deft way, tried to address actually some of these concerns. For example, if you look at the macroeconomic objectives that were presented, you could clearly see deliberate policy choices to manage inflation. From the high of 15, it came to 12 this year, and therefore aiming to stay within the band of 6 to 8%. So I think that is a good response, and I believe it's achievable. And then you look at the issues around domestic resource mobilization, and here again, he definitely tried to come up with a policy around limiting domestic resource mobilization to 2.1% of the GDP, which in a sense opens up resources to private sector borrowing to avoid the crowding out of the private investment, which again I think was a good move if we can adhere to that. And then the fact that economic growth is still important is not sufficient, but it's an important factor. And hence again, for the country to move to 6.4 growth rate projection, I believe that it sends also a positive signal to both domestic but also the foreign investors. And hopefully if Zambia can move towards 8 to 10%, more ambitious and more targeted, but also will have an even huge impact in terms of putting a dent to poverty. Poverty still remains a challenge at 60%, and therefore we really need to see what more can be done. I certainly agree with Jason on this issue of energy, because energy is really an important enabler for development, but also for industrialization. And therefore, with the policies towards energy mix and increasing the capacity for energy, this will remain important in terms of the industrialization policy, but also in terms of the SMEs. And I believe we have to look at the SMEs and MSMEs as an important growth area for the economy, given the size. And informality is still a critical area for the economy in terms of the numbers, and hence investing in energy, in looking at issues around access to finance. I know we haven't talked a lot about access to finance, particularly for the MSMEs, but I believe this could be another area where we may need to pay more attention and ensuring that the entrepreneurs are able to grow. So overall, I think there are a lot of issues. Jason mentioned about the steps being taken to address pollution, but importantly, the use of the plastics, and I believe that's the way to go. Environment and climate action are key. And if you look at some of the challenges the economy has been facing, have to do with the climate action, and the fact that we need to find ways to climate-proof our policies, climate-proof the 9th national development plan, which is supposed to be an under formulation. Again, on women as an important segment of our population, I think it's important to be deliberate in terms of gender-responsive budget on issues that impact on women across the sector, from energy to education for the girl child. These we really have to focus on. And finally, it's important to also talk about the issue of the debt. And as UN, we've been talking about debt paucity for African countries. Because unless we create a fiscal space for countries to be able to reinvest resources into human capital, particularly education, health, and social protection, then we may not make a dent when it comes to SDGs. And we are only 5 years to 2030. I recall when we made the transition from MDG to SDGs, there was excitement that we are now moving into absolutism in terms of dealing with issues of poverty. We are not talking of having poverty. We are talking in terms of eradicating poverty. We are talking of in terms of dealing with issues of climate change, dealing with economic imperatives and enablers that can help economies to grow. And yet 5 years to 2030, we've faced quite a number of challenges. The COVID-19, for example, which kind of brought us back again in terms of the pace. We've seen global crises, the Ukraine crisis and other wars. So again, we need to pause back and see what else can we do for us to be able to jumpstart, the growth of the economies and accelerate growth. And even look at new enablers. Digitalization, for example, it's driving growth in a number of countries, including Zambia. So how do we ensure we have budget policies and incentive packages that can help to transform these particular sectors of the economy?
Right. James, Jason, thank you so much for sharing your reflections post the budget. And as I'd indicated to our viewers, please do look out for a copy of this one, which is also available on both the UNDP website as well as the KPMG website. So I've been your host for this conversation. And maybe just on a final thought, we do have some trophies here. We wanted to share our special moment with the two of you. Financial Insight was recently awarded 2 awards, one for Best Reporter for myself, as well as Best Media House for Capital Markets.
Well done. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Your success, our success.
Absolutely.
Our collective success.
Well deserved.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
So stay tuned for more post-budget insights from the KPMG and UNDP post-budget coverage. I've been Mwelwa Kenneth Chibesakunda, your host, and as we always say at Financial Insight, get to know.